Many believe that Nigeria's maturing democracy, the relatively smooth transition from tenure to tenure from May 29, 1999, is largely due to a much bigger sacrifice which began 6 years before. That is, June 12, 1993, a day which evokes poignant feelings of a nation in genuine accord on the direction of its political destiny. However, the hands of fate, which precipitated an anticlimax to that particular goal, has not been able to erase the effects, trauma, and despondency which became the albatross of regime after that date. Today, our democracy, while debating on the new heroes to shaping its present, must thank the past actors for the price paid for today's comfort. The push and shove of 1993 and the ensuing years still left in its trail a psychological unease until last year's pronouncement by Nigeria's current president to exorcise the ghosts of that national tragedy. Today on Political Update, we will touch on the lessons of June 12 and the maturity of our democracy. We'll also interrogate how fast the three arms of government are adjusting to the new normal in delivering the dividends of democracy. I am Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome. Now, what is in a day? Some say it is the inherent prospects of greatness embedded in it, while for others, it could be a significant signpost of dashed hopes and the endless question, what might have been? For many, Nigeria's iconic political date is June 12th, seen by many as a date which crystallized the struggle for democratic governance. June 12 resonated across the nation as an expression of the collective will of the people. Almost futile against the fury of arms at the time, but now aided by time to reevaluate June 12, its heroes re-emerge as the political phoenix, as tears of dashed hopes lead to an endorsement of a lifetime. In this report, Nnamdi Odipo recalls the trails of stardust.
So much has changed in Lagos State since the year 1993. But sometimes when you listen closely, you could still possibly hear some of the ghosts of June 12. In the Alakpere Ketu axis of Lagos, a giant reminder stands. Towering 46 feet above ground level, this memorial statue depicts the persona of the man caught in the center of the June 12 story. It may or may not have been the TV campaign ads, but for sure, Nigerians were clearly intrigued by the man, Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. The legend of MKO Abiola had spread far and wide prior to the June 12, 1993 presidential election. The streets were livelier, the people more eager. Electioneering campaigns had sparked a fire that mostly burnt out religious and ethnic preconceptions amongst Nigerian voters.
The amazing thing about it was so orderly, it was so free, visibly free, and the fairness was palpable. And we felt like heroes. Our country has done something right.
Indeed, June 12, 1993 started as a very good day. As the day progressed, it carried with it the spirit and hope of inclusiveness collectively expressed by millions of voters. The result of the June 12, 1993 presidential election was never completely released and never made official. But something which emerged from the voting pattern and was rather quite glaring was the confirmation that the voters' choice clearly went beyond ethnicity and religion.
My proud state of Kano, who had a candidate, but we felt that our candidate may not have been the best and therefore will vote for another candidate. And that role played by Kano in delivering so many votes to the MKO Abiola is one of the positives we remember from that outcome.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation.
The truth of the matter is that you do not have two sunrises in one day. Even in Africa, The sun rises only once a day, and that is the way it is. The people have made it very clear that that is what they want.
The sun did rise and set on June 12, and the accompanying darkness was frightening. The protagonist in our story was known to have said something quite profound at the time, and I quote, "Democracy came at a price, steep but totally worth the people having their say." End of quote. The June 12 story has several heroes, but one stands out. But there were many other characters at play.
In any event, there will always be the heroes and there will be the villains. But the good thing is for us to forgive and forget.
What it tells us is that history matters, that it does not matter how you act, history will take care of everything.
By sundown on June 12 and the break of dawn the next day, the story continued. The June 12 story is definitely one for posterity.
All right, it's a week when June 12 will be, remembered and, of course, celebrated again. Let me quickly tell you that Nigerian Television Authority will be giving you an exclusive package on Friday. Almost lasting all day, we'll be giving you news, reviews, previews, interviews concerning that, the iconic date, and we'll be having the masters of the game in terms of the political scene and those who are part of the struggle. So keep a date with us. Now let's hear from Timothy Yusuf about the current administration and how they pulled a political chestnut out of the fire.
Nigeria on the march again.
The annulment of the election held 26 years ago by the then military government of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida aborted the country's envisaged Third Republic.
Abiola won the election nationwide, everybody knows that. But certain things happened and we found ourselves with him in jail and all that. But it was during the military.
The former Minister of Labour and Employment, Emeka Wogu, was a National Republican Convention NRC local government chairman in 1993 and played active role in the election.
That election was an election. Even my police orderly went and voted for SDP and showed me he had voted for SDP. Even my driver voted for SDP and they showed me that they voted for SDP. I voted for NRC because I have no other option, and some other people joined me to vote for NRC. So what that clearly shows is that the people at that time, Nigerian people, actually came up to vote for a president they like.
Dr. Patrick Asadu was a medical student in 1993 and a strong supporter of Chief MK Abiola.
June 12 is a monumental date. For those of us who believe in the unity of this country, who believe that Nigeria can practice democracy, who believe that there are those factors that hold Nigeria that are bigger than those ones that divide Nigeria.
The announcement by President Muhammadu Buhari on June 6, 2018, that June 12 is now to be celebrated as Nigeria's Democracy Day, is believed to be the greatest reconciliation ever in the history of Nigeria.
Our decision to recognize and honor June 12 and its actors is in the national interest. I earnestly invite all Nigerians across all our national divide to accept it in good faith. Accordingly, on behalf of the federal government, I tender the nation's apology to the family of late MKO Abiola.
Generations to come will honor you for this brave act.
Who would have ever believed, given the relationship that you had with Chief MK Abiola, that you would be the instrument God would use to honor this man and to bring reconciliation and healing to the country.
Today, the political landscape is agog, is awake, is vibrant, is hopeful, is expectant, and shall never be the same again.
In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Many thanks to Timothy Yusuf for that one. Joining us on Political Update today is Yusuf Adamu Gagdi, member representing Pangshin Kanke and Kanam constituency of Plateau State. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's not a pilot, it's just in a face mask. And we have Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi, is the head of Department of Mass Communication, Business University. He's an associate professor of mass communication. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I saw some nostalgia, while you were watching that. What are your comments at this time before we move forward?
Well, I think June 12th remains a watershed. It was a defining moment where all our cleavages, ethnicity, religion, cultures, and all that were being undermined for a national purpose. We had two candidates, president and vice presidential candidate coming from the same political party, and we had an election that you could genuinely call a pan-Nigerian election, where he won in practically all states of the federation. So it was going to be a moment that was going to redefine the growth of this country, the evolution of this country at the level of politics. And ever since the election, I'm not sure we've had any election that is as successful as that in terms of fairness, in terms of freeness as well. The 1999 election wasn't as successful as the June 12th election in terms of transparency and accountability, but we just allowed it to go because we were desperate for democracy. It was permitted on that account, but June 12th still holds that record. And what President Buhari did last year was, of course, a monumental healing, something that massaged, all the pain, that assuaged the pains, the feelings of all those who had pains over the years. So it was a moment that redefined this nation, but we don't have to acknowledge that it happened the way it happened, and it is typical of nations. When nations grow, in the evolution of nations, there are actually moments, sometimes it could be hours, sometimes it could be days, sometimes it could be weeks, where their national cause will definitely be witness a redefinition. Ours was June 12th.
Now, Honorable Gagdi, you are nodding. Did that have an effect on you eventually now becoming a politician and a representative of your people?
Of course, certainly. What Nigerians have been yearning for is the enthronement of democracy. And the struggle to enthrone democracy in Nigeria has been a protracted battle over the years. So, to some of us that in 1993 we were growing up, we saw it as a moment for hope for Nigeria, having grown up in a moment where you have experienced military regime all through. So it was a moment that every Nigerian was looking up to, looking at the acceptability, like he said, the winning of elections across the federation, the pan-African nature of the elections, and what have you. It was something that, and for President Muhammadu Buhari to declare June 12th as a democracy day, to me as a politician, I think that is one of the beginning of reconciliation among the political groups in Nigeria, stimulating the hope for a common man in Nigeria that democracy have come to stay.
Not unlike the face masks that both of you are wearing. It was as if the voice of democracy was muffled for a time. Yeah. But eventually, we came back and we have put it on an even keel and a course that we want to go, the trajectory we want to go now by facing what some would call the demons of the past and acknowledging that a wrong was done and then try to right it.
That's right, and that's a lesson that we learned from the president last year, and the day has been declared again as Nigeria's official democracy day, which is quite salutary. But again, we also have to leverage on that declaration and be more concerned about the production of a national hero. Other than that, is also to also be concerned about national integration. National integration is not just physical, it has to be psychological. But we know the negotiation of national integration is not a day job, it's something that is a work in progress. I want to believe that with the recognition of June 12, we've started the work. Government, again, officials, politicians, our leaders, they have to continue along that trajectory, because national integration, is not a psychological process, it's not a physical process. It's much more psychological. Giving people a sense of nationhood, a sense of nationness, a sense of patriotism and nationalism, so that they can be galvanized towards all the physical projects, all the physical programs that government and leaders will probably want to chart for them.
That takes me to the politician. Are you thinking about the fact that the positions that you're in now, members of the House of Representatives, the Senate, and even people are in the executive, that people have made some sacrifices for Nigeria to be here, and be sensitive enough to consider this also in your relation with one another, not throwing the baby away with the bathwater, in negotiating and making sure that Nigeria comes first?
Definitely a lot of sacrifice have been made. And if you want us to take it historical lane, it is going to be hours of discussion. But to take it to the level of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate and the House of Reps, in line with the 9th National Assembly, the reform of Mr. Speaker and what have you, you see us doing things differently, in line with consolidating on the sacrifice made by our democratic heroes. It's not about fighting the executive. It's about Nigeria and its people, the citizens of this country, the people that elected us to represent them. For the first time in the history of this country, you see a January to December budget cycle. That is a sacrifice on the part of the parliament to consolidate, to give the executive enough opportunity of implementing people-oriented program, so that at the end of the day, during oversight, during asking questions by parliament, you will be able to tell the executive that you have given them 12 months of implementation. They wouldn't have any excuses to give you. But again, it was in the spirit of democracy. Politicians, National Assembly members are making sacrifice. Although in some instances, some people doesn't seem to understand those sacrifices. When you try to make things work for the executive, they see you as a rubber stamp. When you try to ensure that you have bring out a legislative policy framework that will consolidate Nigerian democracy, that will bring dividend of democracy at the doorstep of Nigerian, a lot of people misrepresent that. They will say this 9th Assembly are rubber stamp. Whereas in the true sense of the word, we are doing it to consolidate on issues similar to June 12th, to consolidate on our democracy and to ensure that Nigerians benefit from the democratic regime that they have voted for.
All right, since you are talking about the 9th Assembly and it's on the 9th of June, let me quickly just stay with you briefly. In terms of, how you rub shoulders on the House in terms of discussing on the new normal, how to fast-track governance now, is there discussions across the table? Very quickly before we go to our next clip, is there some discussion across the table, minorities, majority and all that, to forge a common front forward?
Of course, in any parliament, you discover that discussions are conducted where the majority have its view and the minority have its own say. We allow debates on the floor of the House where you have in fact, one of the qualities of the 9th Assembly, in line with the question you asked, is not about majority or minority. It's about the people. It's about Nigerians. You will see someone from a majority party even, putting government as tech to ensure that the right thing is done, supporting the view of the minority for the common good of Nigerians. I have done that in many cases, and members of the House of Representatives and the Senate equally have done that in order to ensure that we have done things for the good of Nigerian people.
All right. Another test coming the way of our political elite will be the elections coming very shortly, the gubernatorial elections in Edo and Ondo State. Now let's have an update on preparations for the Edo elections as compiled by Timothy Yusuf.
So far, the PDP Primary Screening Committee for the Edo State governorship election, headed by Kingsley Chinda, has screened 4 aspirants at its sitting. The exercise was conducted behind closed door, except for Kenneth Imanswagbon, who was screened via virtual method.
Our leadership selection process must be reformed.
Our aspirants are working very hard and penetrating the grassroots in Edo State. They have moved into all the electoral wards, sensitizing our members and voters as well, and getting ready for the forthcoming election.
National chairman of the Action Democratic Party, Yabagi Yusuf Sani, has explained that the party will be participating fully in the forthcoming Edo and Ondo States governorship elections.
And at the moment, we have received a large number of the campaigns from other political parties who have come to join us in seeking the mandate of Nigerians. Let me inform you that the ADP campaign machinery is already in place for the Edo and Ondo governorship election. Many aspirants have intimated us of their intention to run under our platform, while some are still consulting.
The ADP national chairman also commended President Muhammadu Buhari for signing an Executive Order 10, enforcing the financial autonomy of the state legislature and judiciary. The National Conscience Party, one among the political parties deregistered by INEC after the 2019 general elections, has applauded the nation's election management body's guidelines on Edo and Ondo elections, as it also seeks for credible elections.
Remember, I said everybody should play the game by the rules to avoid all of this. Election is not a do or die affair. It's supposed to be something that a candidate is presented and people find favor in one particular person, and that election should have taken place clear and clear at the police station, and then we are done with, then we face the issue of governance. This is the campaign in which we want to preach as from today.
All right, as I come for our closing comments, Dr. Adeni, have we matured? We have talked about the matters, about the heroes. Yeah. Now, 21 years cycle, have we matured as a democracy?
Yeah, maturity is a very relative thing. You know, it's a matter of context. You know, I would say yes, we have not matured, but we are not doing badly. You know, we've not done badly in the last 21 years, you know, but I know there's still a lot to be done, and I usually don't want to put all the politicians in one basket and say they are all problematic. No. We have fantastic politicians, you know, who have made their marks in the last 20, 21 years, you know. Yes, even if we still have a lot to be done, you know, but what we need to do going forward is to conscientize ourselves, you know, to understand that nationhood, nation building needs continuous, painstaking effort. It's not a one-off thing. You know, you need to invest, continue to invest efforts into it, you know, in a deliberate way, as well as to allow our psychology, our consciousness, you know, to impact, you know, on the physical attributes of nationhood. You know, infrastructures, utilities alone are not the hallmark of nation. We have nations in the world that are very sophisticated, but in terms of morality, in terms of ethics, they're completely bankrupt. We have to be integrative, considering the fact that there are many sides to nation building. And all we need to do is to encourage our politicians, galvanize them, and know that, you know, they have a call to duty. You know, they have a mandate to fulfill, and in fulfilling that mandate, you know, the work has to be painstaking and continuous, not necessarily a one-off thing.
Thank you very much. And you were talking about politicians. One is right here in the studio. Share your thoughts with us at this time. They say representation of the people carrying their collective aspirations and their intentions to the central seat out here in Abuja. It's one of the main things in a democracy. How has it been? The seesaw between you know, being a member of the House of Representatives and a representative of your people at the same time, so representing them as their voice in the House of Assembly. Your final thoughts?
That I will put them together, plus the question you asked my brother. I think, in my view, I'm not, even if I would sound immodest, I don't care. In the last 21 days, we have not done well. We have not done well in the sense that we have the spirit of national integration, as mentioned by him, which would have been the hallmark of Nigerian democracy, to some extent was insulted. The issue of national, 5 national objectives. Nigeria is supposed to be a land of bright and full of opportunities for all citizens. How has Nigeria in the last 21 years been a land of bright and full of equal opportunities for all citizens? Being a united, strong and self-reliant nation, are we really united? Are we self-reliant? You know, a land of egalitarian and what have you. I think we have a lot to do in times of corruption, in times of moving the dividend of democracy at the doorstep of the people, in times of looking at yourself from the south, from the north, from the west as Nigerians and what have you. I think we have a lot more to do in terms of the resources that has been at the fingertip of Nigerian politicians. I think Nigerian democracy, Nigerian politicians have a lot to do in other. Since we have not satisfied the averagely 50% of the expectation of the Nigerian people, I can say without any fear of political contradiction that Nigeria and Nigeria's democratic leaders have a lot to do.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member, for coming. We've had 2 very active discussants on the program today. I want to thank you for being a part of it. It's a prelude to our June 12th program, which will, of course, will come on Friday. We've had Honourable Yusuf Adamu Gagdi, member representing Pankshin Kanke Kanam constituency of Plateau State. And we also had Dr. Abiodun Adeni, head of department Mass Com, the department right here at Base University. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. That has been Political Update for today on the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest television network, giving you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Continue to be on the Nigerian Television Authority. And, of course, on Friday, we'll bring you a bumper package of June 12th, the day, and June 12th, the date.